Hey guys, I'm back. I had work kind of get busy for a few days, so I didn't go on walks at all. But I have some time and the weather is nice again. It was a moment where the weather was really bad, so I wasn't going outside much, but here's the view today. The clouds are especially nice. Sometimes I feel like I see the most like God in the clouds. Very interesting. Like his presence, her presence, the presence is more available. But today I wanted to talk about this area that I'm thinking about, which is how you really don't know what the universe has in store for you or what the future has in store for you. And that, like, especially for someone like me who I think used to be like, I'm like highly agentic, but also like, yeah, like almost like hyper proactive and strategic and do thingsy, like that this can be an interesting area to contemplate because, like, yeah, it's like having faith that without your involvement things will be fine. Like that things can happen in their own way without you writing the ending to the chapter, if that makes sense. Like that actually I've been sort of navigating lately as with life as much more of like this dance, and it's a dance with reality, it's a dance with ambiguity, it's a dance with the universe, it's this ebb and flow, and it's not just me marching one way, nor this like wave of the universe just crushing me. It's like this dance, it's surfing, it's like a back and forth. And I think I used to be tilted way more towards like the me marching along this totally unorganized, chaotic space and making my own sense of it. And now it's a lot more like sensing what's happening around me, what's coming out of the people around me, what's happening in this location, and like moving with that. Like this like whole package of skills around like discernment and sensing and listening and attunement and like faith. And I used to have such a contempt for like this phrase of like blind faith, like, oh, you're so silly. And now I'm like, oh, it's it's not actually totally blind, it's maybe like visually blind. I'm playing with it, but like it's like that you can have this sense of like sense or intuition, and like even if you don't see something directly in front of you, that you can sense through other ways that there is something like happening and unraveling and around the corner that you just can't see yet. And one thing that I find really interesting is just like, you don't know what you don't know. So in the depths of some kind of like depression or like pit of despair that you're in, or just a place of uncertainty and ambiguity, that like you actually don't know how things will play out. And that's really scary because sometimes it's like it could be really bad. Like, yeah, I don't know how it's going to turn out, and what if it's like really bad. And I think sometimes when I get into a place where it's like, oh, this is my last day, or this is my friend's last day, and I feel this like urgency and scarcity like leap up, that I can feel tempted to like grab the book of, I don't know, life that I'm living and just like write out my own ending and be like, I want this to happen and make it happen. And like, it does happen, and you do sort of shift the reality by doing this, but it doesn't, I don't know, it's just like paying attention to how it feels. And I've noticed like sometimes it feels like I forced it and I caused it to happen, and it wasn't necessarily the most organic or graceful flow. I didn't dance well with life. And it doesn't feel like the best timeline. It feels like a timeline that was wrenched a little bit by a piece of me that was feeling afraid. And it's not like the most like juicy, beautiful like way that things could have unfolded. So yeah, I think there's something along those lines. Let me show you some olives while I think. Oh yeah, that like when you think about dance partners, it's not that like I never do anything. Like actually a very important part of dancing is having like boundaries or stepping forward. Like when the music pauses and you like all like pause together and it resumes and you all step in, like that. There's also just like this back and forth, like the tango partner like expects you to push back really hard into his hand, or to make eye contact, or to charge, and that there's just moments where it's like life calls upon you to like make moves, like yeah, make your move, like follow your impulse and like intuition and go with that music. And I think like part of my process with developing my intuition and discernment and listening and scent and all of this is also like the hearing that like musical tone and melody and following it with just flow. And if you stop and think, you're probably a half step too late. So just like, yeah, I'm learning how to dance. And noticing when I have like a fear that something won't happen that I really want to happen, and I like move urgently and sort of force something instead of trusting that the dance and like intention, just setting the intention in myself and having the intention in others will naturally bring you together, and like trusting in that instead of like sort of just pushing for something and yeah, like kind of breaking out of the rhythm to cause someone to stand or move a certain way. I also find this idea of like that you don't know what the future holds really comforting, in that like when you are in the depths of despair, and I think Viktor Frankl has something to say about this around like, yeah, like you just don't know what the future has in store for you. Even if you're like, I'm so over this sucks, like that you have a dance partner who has different ideas and like it's not all up to you, and there's just like things that you don't even know. I set out on this journey expecting to like sort of hermit and do this spirit distillation process mostly like on my own and inside of myself, and what I'm finding is given to me is a lot more community and co-regulation and social like interaction and exchange. And it feels like the universe is sort of saying like, no, you have to do your spirit distillation in community and in the presence of others, and learn how to give and receive and do this not in your own, you know, hole, your own hermit hut. So yeah, I think that's all I had on my mind for today. See you guys.